So this morning, we're going to talk about how Jehovah, the kinsman, redeeming kinsman of Israel, is the only one. There is no other. And this past week, most religions have celebrated Lent and Ash Wednesday. And what I want to do is look at a few of them and look at this mark that they put on their foreheads. Now, knowing that it is written several times in the Bible that punishment is going to be given to those who put a mark on their forehead, you would think that people would not have the arrogance or would be afraid to put any sort of mark on their forehead. I want to go to the scripture. I want to talk about go to the scripture where it talks about the mark on their forehead. Now, Revelation 20. Use Strong's Concordance. And I saw thrones. How many were there? Well, besides the throne of David and the throne of Jehovah, there was 12 more. In fact, Yehoshua talks about it when he does the Last Supper with the disciples. How they're going to sit on 12 thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. So these were the thrones that he's talking about. And they that sat on them. And judgment was given unto them. In other words, they were given 12 thrones to judge the 12 tribes of Israel, not the 12 tribes of the church, because there's no such thing as the 12 tribes of the church. There always has been the 12 tribes of Israel mentioned in the scripture, and there always shall be. And the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yehoshua, not Jesus. All right? It is Yehoshua. You cannot make Jesus Yehoshua. It's impossible. In fact, even the letter J did not exist more than 600 years ago. And for the word, for the statement, for their speech of not God. God is the false idol of the of the Nordics, the pagans, which had not worshipped the beast, that is the government in Rome, neither his graven image. Literally, statue. That's a graven image. What do you see in nearly every Sunday house of worship around the world? You see that image, that statue. Neither had received that statue's mark upon their foreheads, or in their hands, or make the sign with their hand across their chest, you see. with their right hand, those who did not do those things, they lived with not Christos, but with Moshiach, with Israel's Moshiach, the ones that the Christians call the Antichrist, for 1,000 years. So let us look at religions. Let's see if I can find it again. Or maybe it doesn't even matter. So, religions that celebrate Ash Wednesday. And if you celebrate Ash Wednesday, you put the mark of the beast on your forehead. The mark of the Roman entity. The same mark that is on the number of his name. You see. This guy. Yes, that guy. The one you Christians worship as God, as you say. Let's say, okay, so I need to go back. Ash Wednesday observed by Western Christianity. Roman Rite Catholics observe it, along with certain Protestants like Lutherans, Anglicans, some Reformed churches, Baptists, Nazarenes. I hope the Nazarenes don't do that, but then again, they've all seemed to have slipped away from the truth. Methodists, evangelicals, and even some Mennonites. Now, there are other Mennonites who do not. There's so many schisms in among the Mennonites. It's amazing. And even the Amish Mennonite, you thought it was Amish, but it's Amish Mennonite. They obviously don't observe that either. Now, some go to the extreme and among the Mennonite and do a reverse Lent, which is foolish. Your religion should not be focused on being in opposition to the beast in Rome. It should be focused on the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And I want to point, now that I've brought that up, see how ridiculous it is that some woman, a local woman, Patricia Voth, 65, of the small Mennonite town of Dallas, Oregon, has been practicing reverse Lent for almost 50 years. The rest of the year we're told to dress modestly, never to smile or laugh, never to dance or drink, or so on, explained Voth. But in these 40 years of reverse Lent, we can finally let loose a little this year. For reverse Lent, I'm going to start smoking a hookah. Reverse Lent is a long-standing Anabaptist tradition of doing the opposite of whatever the Catholic Church does, and this includes breaking all the rules in the days before Easter. So this also gives you an idea of how the original Anabaptists viewed the Catholic Church, and one of the reasons why they did so was because Anabaptists were labeled as Jews. Which, folks, I want you to understand something here. And nearly all of my videos, or many of my videos, I point out that emblem worship is idolatry. And so there have been some of you who hate the Jews who point out that I wear this when I'm doing my videos. Well, the reason why I do it is because you Christians, you accused my forefathers of being Jews. You persecuted them as Jews. So I, along with the Jews, stand with the Jews while they bear their reproach. I will not stand with the ones who are reproaching the Jews. I stand with the Jews while they bear their reproach. Okay? And as far as I'm concerned, this right here is a testimony against you Christians for reproaching the Jews. For nearly 2,000 years you did. So I want to go to another scripture. Yohanan 4, verse 22. Now, so Yehoshua, not Jesus, speaks to a Samaritan woman. And so there came a woman of Samaria to draw water, and not Jesus, not Jesus, but Yehoshua did. Now, this matters, folks, because something that he says to this Samaritan woman proves it's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Anything else is absolutely unacceptable. So you do not deviate from the truth. Period. And Yehoshua said unto her, Give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away into the city to buy food. Then said the woman of Samaria unto him. Now, the Samaritans were not Israelites. They were a group of people that were brought in by either the Assyrians or the Greeks. Can't remember which one, to replace the Israelites, the lost 10 tribes that were driven out. For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Yehoshua answered and asked her if she knew the gift of not Godin, but Jehovah, and who it is that says to you, Give me to drink. Do you know who this is that said, give me to drink? You would have asked for him, and he would have given you living water. So if you would have asked him, he would have given her living water. The woman said unto him, Sir, you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. She didn't get what he said at all. From where do you have this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob? You see, the church was not the only one who claimed that they were Israel and are not. The Samaritans did too. Who gave us the well and drank thereof himself and his children and his cattle. And Yehoshua answered and said unto her, Whosoever drinks of this water, the water that he provides, or whosoever drinks of this water in this well, shall thirst again. But whosoever drinks of the water that I shall give to him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give to him shall be in him, within him, a well of water springing up into eternal or age-long life. So the woman said unto him, Sir, give me this water, that I thirst not, neither come here to draw. And Yehoshua said unto her, Go call your husband, and then come back. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. And Yehoshua said unto her, You have well spoken. I have no husband, for you have 5 husbands, have had 5 husbands. And he who is now with you is not your husband, in that you spoke the truth. So this is the first time she spoke the truth to him. This is what he's saying. And the woman said unto him, Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet. Our fathers worship in this mountain, and you say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. That's just like the Catholics. And quite frankly, some other Christian religions who claim that Rome is the place, or that the place is somewhere else and no longer in Jerusalem. If they actually believed the truth, they would have quickly gathered up all the people of Israel, everyone whom Israel is ascribed to, and bring them back to the Holy Land immediately. So they worshipped on a mountain in Samaria, and that woman said that, but you Jews, you say that Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. And Yehoshua said unto her, Woman, listen, believe me, trust me, that the hour is coming when you shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. Now, is that the time of the end? Is he talking about? No, he was speaking of a time very shortly around the corner. When Titus would come in and destroy Jerusalem. You worship what you know not what. Now he is making a difference between the Samaritan and the Jew. We know what we worship. We, the Jews, know what we worship. See that? Ourselves. So he places himself among the Jews as I do. Okay? He's speaking of the Father, Jehovah. We know what we worship. And he places himself with the Jews when he says this. They know what his name is. In fact, in rabbinical psalms, they say his name. Nehemiah Gordon talks about this, if you want to go look it up. For salvation is of the Jews, not the Samaritans and not the Gentiles. But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true, notice even King James Version put true in all caps, worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. All right. For the Father seeketh such to worship him, only in the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, folks. For Jehovah is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Now, go back to Isaiah. I am Jehovah. That is my name, and my glory will I not give to another. Not my praise to graven images. But what have you done, Christian? You have stolen praise from Jehovah, and you gave it to a graven image. I'll just put chapel. Let's see what happens. See if I can find something that resembles what you guys do in your churches. May have to put cathedral, I'm not sure. Or maybe I wouldn't know how to. Okay, here we go. Here, well, this is on a window. Same thing. So this is Episcopalian group. Wow, they look at this. Now I never would have guessed, folks. I never would have guessed that the front facade of these Episcopalians building would resemble the altar of Zeus, who is Satan. Never would have guessed. Maybe I've not been paying attention. And of course, let me see. So the images, I see how the images are now here. So they have this image right here of their Jesus. See if I can find a better one of it. There it is right here. Okay, so that's a more elaborate one. Maybe I should go wooden image. There it is. This is what you see. You see this. You see this. And Paul talks about it here in Romans 1. Paul, a servant of not Jesus Christos, but a servant of Yehoshua the Moshiach. Remember, it says Jehovah is his name. He was not going to share his glory with another, nor my praise to graven images. If his name is Jehovah, the name of Jehovah must be in the name of the Moshiach. That name is Yehoshua. It's very similar to when people like to put the name of their firstborn and name it after their father. Very similar to that. So they'll put Junior after the name to mark the difference. Well, Jehovah did the same thing here, except he didn't put Junior after the name. He put the description of the Son as this. Jehovah, the name of the Father, is salvation. That's the reason why the name of Jehovah must be in the name of this firstborn son. Just like Dale Earnhardt put the name of his son on him with Junior on the end. Same way. Same thing. Except, of course, Jehovah's name on a much, much grander scale. This is the reason why it has to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You have to worship Jehovah in spirit and in truth. And if you call his name by some other name, you are not worshiping Jehovah in spirit and in truth. You are giving his glory and his honor to somebody else. Somebody's name, whose name is Zeus, which is Satan. Where was I? Okay, we'll go here. Now, who's he speaking to? Concerning his son, Yehoshua Mashiach, our master, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh. Not made of the Roman seed, not made of the English seed. No. Made of the seed of David according to the flesh, and declared to be the Son of Jehovah with power according to the Spirit of holiness, by the resurrection of the dead, by whom received grace, apostleship, for obedience to the faith among the Gentiles, for his name, not for a different name, not for Jesus, for Yehoshua, among whom you are also called of Yehoshua Moshiach, to all that be in Rome, beloved of Jehovah, called to be holy. Grace to you and peace from Jehovah our Father and our Moshiach, or our Master Yehoshua Moshiach, not Jesus Christ. So he is saying, I am not ashamed of the gospel of Moshiach. Well, as I have pointed out many times what the gospel was, but you Christians, you've rejected it. The gospel is the good news, spoken of in Isaiah and spoken of in Ezekiel, spoken of in Jeremiah. It's a two-phase gospel to bring all Israel back to the Holy Land, and for the Moshiach to watch over and guard them. That's number one. The second one is to be a light to the Gentiles, that they may be his, or that Yehoshua may be his salvation unto the ends of the earth. For it is the power of Jehovah unto salvation to everyone that believes, to the Jew first. This was prophesied from the beginning. This is the foremost of the gospel. He is talking about the gospel here. To the Jew first, and also to the Hellene. Hellene, Western civilization. For this is where the righteousness of Jehovah is revealed from faith to faith. As it is written, the just shall live by faith. Faith in this and faith in that. So faith to faith. If this is broken, if this is rejected, this portion here also to the Greek, then that is the rejection of the truth. Now, the Jews of the generation of Paul rejected that truth, but it was only of that generation that's to be rejected. But the Gentiles, as Paul points out in the book of Galatians, already began to turn away to a different gospel. while he was still alive. What do you think happened after he died? For therein is the righteousness of Jehovah revealed from faith to faith, as is written, so the just shall live by faith. Now we go here again, as I've done in the last video. I need to point this out yet again. For the wrath of Jehovah is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. Yahushua said that Jehovah is looking for a people who will worship him in spirit and in truth. In other words, you have to say his name correctly. You have to search for the truth, find out what the truth is concerning his name, because he said he will not give his glory to a different idol, nor to any graven images. But there are those who are so arrogant that they refuse to change. And yet, this generation of Christians, you know arrogance when you see it. How do I know this? I don't like bringing up sports, because those are things that turns people's eyes away from the truth. What I want to talk about is arrogance. If you go to Sports Talk, YouTube, or whatever, concerning this Super Bowl game that just recently happened, the pundits will tell you that the Kansas City Chiefs were arrogant because they did not change their game. They said that the Kansas City Chiefs should have used a running game when they were getting beaten by the Buccaneers in their passing game. But the Chiefs were arrogant and continued their passing game until they got utterly destroyed on the field. They would not change. They were arrogant. So has Christianity swerved from the truth so quickly. As Paul said, and I don't want to get too carried away with different scriptures to the point where I forgot to mention one of the ones that I started out with. But I have to do this. Another gospel, a different. Actually, it was 2 Corinthians 11 too. It wasn't just a Galatians. You see? Now, how can you say, Christian, if someone comes to you and preaches a Jesus other than the Jesus which we preached? Maybe it should say, if someone comes to you and preaches a Jesus other than the Yehoshua we preached. Or if you receive a different spirit from the spirit which you received, or a different gospel from the one you accepted. He says, you would put up with it quickly enough. Very quickly. Now, you're going to call it, those of you who say that you're on the right track, you're calling Paul a liar. Yes, you are. No, Paul was telling the truth. He told them, if someone comes to you preaching a Jesus other than the Yehoshua which we preached, or if you receive a different spirit other than the spirit which you received, or a different gospel from the one you accepted, you would put up with it easily enough. You put up with it quickly enough, readily enough. You would put up with it way too easily. You would bear with it very well. You'd like it. He's accusing the Corinthians of being ready to run away from the truth. You would tolerate this very well. You would bear with this beautifully. Amplified Bible says you would tolerate all this beautifully, welcoming the deception. He was right. He was 100% dead on right. You would put up with it splendidly. You are ready to receive another spirit and accept a different message. And you say no? Well, you lie, because Paul spoke the truth. Now we go back to Romans and continue. Corinthians were Gentiles, folks. You hold the truth in unrighteousness, you do, with your graven images. And I'll continue and you'll see. You'll see. Because which may be known of Jehovah, not God, is manifest in them. For Jehovah has showed it to them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power, not Godhead, his creatorship. Remember, I told you many times God is in reference to the Norse god Godin, the idol that the Nazis worship. And I know many of you Christians would be outraged by me saying this. I'll continue. You are without excuse, because when you knew Jehovah, they did not glorify him as Jehovah. They called him by another name, and then they rejected him finally. Neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they were arrogant. Professing themselves to be skilled and wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible, imperishable Elohim, like unto an image made like a corruptible man. This on a graven image that you people have in all of your houses of worship. Into a statue. All of those statues that you have are fakes, misrepresentations, counterfeit. So therefore, that thing that you worship, O Christian, is counterfeit. The word's coming up here. I'll find it in a minute. And to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things, like gargoyles. See? Why would you do such a thing? They claim they could have been representative of the souls condemned for their sins, whom they're for the entrance to church forbidden, or whatever. Really? On this account, Jehovah gave them up or turned them over to uncleanness, to the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who exchanged the truth into a lie, into falsehood, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Now, I don't remember where I saw this. It was in another, in the last video. The word counterfeit is somewhere in here. I may have to go and listen to my old video, the past video, and put it in the comment section. And for this cause Jehovah gave them up unto vile affections. For even the women did change the natural use into that which was against nature, and likewise also men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burning their lust toward one another, men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense for the error which was met. Now, it's down here. And even as they did not examine themselves or prove, put to the test their narrative, they refused to do it. Instead, what you do is you protect your narrative at all costs, including murdering the holy people. You did to protect your narrative. They did not test, put to the test, and hold Jehovah in their knowledge. He gave them over to a failing grade. Like Cain got a failing grade. Abel passed the test and Cain failed. So what did Cain do? Cain murdered his brother. What did the Christians do? Right after Paul warned them, they would very quickly run to a false Messiah and a false gospel. The Christians went and killed their brother Abel, this brother. To do those things which are not proper or fitting. One of these reprobates is, I'll continue to read this if I can find it. But one of them means counterfeit. Oh, of course. There it is right there. Failing to pass a test, unapproved, and therefore counterfeit. What did we just read in Yohanan 4? The hour is coming, and now is, that the true worshippers shall worship the Father, the Ab, in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeks such to worship him. He is a spirit, and those that worship him must. It is not an option. You cannot worship him in your own way, as many people have said that you can do. Even a few of my own relatives have said, everyone can worship him in their own way. No, you cannot. You have to worship him in spirit and in truth. He is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Now we go back to here. Failing the test and become a counterfeit religion. How did they do this? You see the fruits thereof. They made unto themselves a graven image, a statue. This. Or you can, I'll just go and do this. Christ of the abyss. How about that? There's what you worship. The angel of the abyss. That's what you worship. I think it's Brazil, is it? Look at what you worship. The image of the abyss. That's what you worship. Very quickly, Paul prophesied that you would do this very quickly. You see, right here, you put up with it splendidly. You'd welcome this deception. You did. That's what Paul said. Now, Paul shows what happens when you choose the graven image. You choose a different one. What comes with it? What comes with it is sodomy and everything written here in verse 28 through 32. They did not like to retain Jehovah in their knowledge. He gave them over to reprobate mind, to do things that which were not convenient, being filled with every all unrighteousness, every kind. Take a look around you today. What do you see? You see the fruit thereof. You see what happens when you counterfeit Jehovah, when you counterfeit the truth. When you turn the truth into a lie, it doesn't stop. And now you're trying to stop it, but you can't. You see, you, the Christian, you set this ball in motion. You set this ball a-rolling, and now you're trying to stop it. But it's too late. You can't stop it. Once you start the untruth ball rolling, it will continue. You can't make it stop. It will continue until you are destroyed. Till Western civilization is destroyed from within. And this is how it's destroyed from within. This is what's happened to you, Western civilization, because you changed the truth into a lie. Because you refuse to acknowledge this one truth that supersedes everything, that Jehovah is his name, and he is not going to give his glory to another, and he is not going to give his praise to graven images. That's the reason why this is happening. It is the reason why Western civilization is being destroyed in front of our very eyes. You started the untruth ball rolling, and now we have men pretending to be women. You see, if you can justify in your own mind a lie, and if you do it to your Creator, that lie is going to come back and bite you hard. And has bitten you, O Christian, has bitten you hard. This lie which you have perpetrated. This lie which you have passed around for nearly 2,000 years has now come back to bite you, and bite you hard. And you wonder why. Your world is a world of Sodom and Gomorrah. It's because you told that lie concerning Jehovah. And you exchanged him for a false idol. You exchanged the truth for a lie, and so, as a result, you stand in a cesspool of Sodom and Gomorrah, and you wonder why. Paul said concerning this particular subject in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 10:21. Let's go to Strong's Concordance so we don't miss anything. Remember, he told the Corinthians that now he realized that as soon as they switched from Yehoshua to Jesus, that they would quickly run for it. They would quickly embrace it. But he says, wherefore, my dearly beloved, flee from idolatry. He's speaking to the same people. You're wise men that I'm speaking to. You're not idiots. Decide, judge what I say. The cup of blessing which we bless, isn't it not the communion of the blood of Moshiach, not Christos? And the bread which we break, is it not the communion of the body of Moshiach, not Christos? You see what King James Version has done? For we, being many, are one bread, one body, and we are partakers of that one bread. Look, Israel after the flesh. Aren't they which eat of the sacrifices partakers of the altar? What do I say then to you? The idol, the graven image, anyone, or that which is offered and sacrificed to idols is anything? What do you say? He says, but I'm going to tell you what I say. But I, or but because that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to demons. Not to Jehovah. And I would not that you should have fellowship with demons. You cannot drink of the cup of the Moshiach and the cup of devils. Neither can you drink of the cup of Jehovah and the cup of devils. You cannot be partakers of the master's table and the table of devils. Do we provoke Jehovah to jealousy? Are we greater than he? Are we greater than he? That is a sign of arrogance. And you folks are wise enough to know that what happened at the Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs was arrogance. Pure arrogance. They refused to change. Now that is a small how do I say this? Comparison. That's a small comparison. But what I'm saying is, if you can understand that, then you can also understand that what you're doing when you say that everyone can worship the Creator their own way, you are arrogant. You're unwilling to change. And then you're going to be found to come up short. You're going to find out that you failed the test. And then you're going to rail against the one who passed the test, like the Kansas City Chiefs fans railed against the referees and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers afterwards. But like the Christians railed against the Jews, railed against the Mennonites, calling them Jews, and proceeded to attack and try to kill them. Now, of course, that's not what the Kansas City Chiefs did, but they did rail against them. But you Christians, you're even worse than the Kansas City Chiefs. You're just like Cain, you're murderers. You have a long history of your murderous practices, reproaching the Jew. You did. I think that about covers what I wanted to say. And there are those that have heard what I have said, but are not willing to change because they're afraid that they're going to lose their wife or they're going to lose their husband. And Yehoshua said, what good is it if you gain the whole world and lose your soul? I like the Luke 9:25. Let's see which we'll go down through the translations here. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world, the world day, and yet lose or forfeit your very self? What do you benefit if you gain the whole world, but you are yourself lost or destroyed? That's a very, very good one. What good is it? For what did you give up yourself? For a bowl of soup? For a bowl of soup. Let's see here. I have to oh, wish I could find it. Sold his birthright. Hebrews 12. We just read about it in Romans 1, did we not? This is what happens when you sell your soul. Go to Strong's Concordance. I can't remember what oh, here we go. Be peaceable with all men and holiness. Well, the Christians weren't peaceable, were they? Without this peacefulness, no man can see the Master or Jehovah. No man. If you're not peaceable, what does nearly 2,000 years of history prove? Proves that the Christians were not peaceful. Far from it. How many crusades does it take to prove my point here? Looking diligently, lest any man fail, come up short of grace, kindness of Jehovah, lest any root of bitterness, springing up trouble you, and thereby are defiled. Root of bitterness? The Jews killed Jesus! The Jews killed Jesus! Yeah, you chanted that, you Christians, while you were bloodletting. That's what you did. There's your root of bitterness. Lest there be any fornicator or profane, unholy person such as Esau. What was his fornication? A lot of people miss this. They don't get it. Who? Now he's describing his Esau's fornication here. Who for one morsel sold his rights of the firstborn, his birthright. Just like that. I didn't care about it at all. If you trade the truth for a lie, if you trade your right to the firstborn, he's He's making a comparison here. For you know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, was rejected. And found no place for change. Though he sought it carefully with tears, he couldn't change the outcome. It was too late. You see. So the time is coming when it's going to be too late to change the outcome. When this world crashes in and self-destructs, it's too late. Jehovah is going to gather up all that is Israel, of every tribe, of all the tribes of Israel. He's going to gather them up because Israel is preordained for glory. And he's going to cause all Israel to repent by saving them from the Gentiles, as it is written in Ezekiel 39 and Romans 11, whether you like it or not, whether you want to believe it or not. I really don't care, quite frankly. You see, these videos, they are meant for two things. Either they can be a benefit to you and cause you to change your way of thinking and turn toward the truth, or it can be a testimony against you. It is not for me to decide which one is which. It's not for me to decide which one you're going to choose. That's up to you. I already know that most will not change until it's too late. All you got to do is take a look at the days of Noah. Yeah, I'm doing this because nobody will be able to accuse me of not knowing this and keeping it to myself. No one's going to be able to accuse me of knowing this and keeping it to myself. You won't be able to do it. Nope. I'll point your finger at somebody else. You won't be able to point it at me. So, take a warning and watch out. It could come upon you at a time where it's too late. And you'll end up like Esau, walking away with nothing.